What? If that's not enough, racism in art? Are we serious? Look, sit back, buckle up, and hang on, because we're just getting started.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
You know what time it is, so sit back and get ready for the Stafford Voice, your dose of conservative in a world of liberal.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, how you doing? That's right, I'm your host, Daniel Stafford, and you are listening to the Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. And tonight, well, we've got some rather interesting things lined up to talk about. So, yeah, but before we get started, I want to remind you there are many ways to listen, so go ahead, set this channel as a favorite, whatever you have to do so you don't get left behind, because if for some strange, crazy reason you do miss the show, you will be able to catch the replay. So just sit tight. There's no need to panic at all, because, hey, I've got you. In the case you aren't already following on social media, you can find me over on Twitter or Gab at Stafford Voice. Again, on Twitter or Gab at Stafford Voice. Or you can look us up on Facebook, Instagram, handful of other various social sites of your choosing. Wherever you're at, just search for the Stafford Voice and we'll be there. I'm just... Oh. You guys over in the YouTube chat, you guys need to... Refill, I'm talking to you, buddy. You need to, calm down. He's feeling mischievous AF tonight. He says he'll try not to raise too much hell tonight. Maybe just a little heck. I don't know. Maybe somebody needs to take the guy's bottle away from him. I don't know. Kentucky Ron, what is up, buddy? Hope that you guys had a fantastic weekend and the rest of your week last week as well. Too much Mountain Dew. Boy, you need to calm down. Hey, okay, Refill. I had a friend of mine. Some of you guys know him on Twitters. I can't keep up with what he calls himself now. Okay, he's at Double Chunk. He used to be Protopotamus, now he's Double Chunk. He shared with me a bottle of Mountain Dew's Dew SA. They mix up 3 different flavors. It's the Voltage, which is the blue, the Code Red, which is red, and it's the... What's the white one? What's the racist Mountain Dew?
Is it Whiteout?
Whiteout. Maybe it is Whiteout. And it's racist. We all know that.
Whatever.
What? We can't have white things or nice things, white thing, whatever. We can't. Okay, anyway. So Mountain Dew, they mixed all of them together. They've got this thing called Dew SA. It looks purple. It's fantastic. Tastes, oh, I gotta find myself a case of it. It's good. But not so I can down them all at once, like apparently Refill has done today. Okay. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, we gotta start this thing. Okay. Let's see, he's drinking a Mountain Dew Green Label, crafted key. That's a good one. I like that one. But I will say I like the white label one, the citrus one. I like that one. The green apple kiwi one was a little too sweet for my taste. But hey, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed all of them. The black one, the white one, the green one. Anyway. So yeah, I like Mountain Dew. I like Mr. Pibb. I do like Mr. Pibb.
That's probably my...
I do like Mr. Pibb. I've kind of been on a Sprite kick lately.
Sprite's good.
Yeah, I know. You always get Pibb or Dr. Pepper. Okay, something else that we like? we're not going to cover it. We're not going to cover it at all. I just want to say Game of Thrones has started. Winter is here. Designer Mountain Dew. Mr. Pibb, that's just weak-ass Dr. Pepper. Refill? You know what? I was feeling lucky, punk. I was going to give you the booting rights tonight, but you keep talking like that, we're going to have problems, mister. You know who really does have some problems right now? Trump. No, hang in there. Let me explain. Disapproval ratings or approval rating. And speaking of which, where the hell is Slick and Tina and everybody else? You guys get out there and get them over here in the room with us. Here's the thing. These numbers don't lie. Not had Mountain Dew since his bowling alley days. Was that last week? I'm kidding. Okay, so Trump's disapproval ratings, poor approval rating, however you want to word it. Okay, I actually thought this was interesting. I like looking at numbers and trying to sort through them, and this comes by way of a Gallup poll where they go in at the first summer of each. They go into the first summer of the president's term, and they ask, "Why do you disapprove of so and so as president?" And then they ask really, really vague, and then they go into they want you to explain it a little more. So I wanted to take a look at this, and this Gallup, they released their survey, and it says Americans who disapprove of how Donald Trump is handling his job as president primarily base their views on his character and personality. By contrast, U.S. adults who disapproved of Barack Obama's job performance in July 2009 during his first year in office focused mainly on his policies and stances on issues. Not the kind of issues that Refill has. Okay? We're talking about policies and how he's viewed on issues. So here's what was interesting. The question, as far as the broad category, why do you disapprove of the way Trump or Obama is handling his job as president? So for Obama in 2009, 65% said issues / specific policies. What up, Al? I see you jumping into the chat over there. We're talking about Trump's disapproval ratings and kind of breaking down some of these numbers that Gallup put out a day or two ago. Now, when you compare Obama's number of being where they actually graded him and took a look at him on, they focused on the issues and focused on his on specific policies, and they were able to name them. That's what was interesting. You compare that to Trump. They, in large part, 65% disapprove of Trump because of his personality or his personal characteristics. Interesting. A complete flip-flop. And it's, if you look at these numbers, they grade Trump at a 16% on the issues and specific policies, and the reverse goes towards Obama at 14% on his personality. Thought this was interesting. So they say that, let's see, Trump is the least well evaluated with a 38% approval, 56% disapproval rating in the July 5 through 9 survey. At the comparable time in 2009, Obama's image was essentially the mirror opposite. Okay, well, we just looked at that. And then they go on to say most of those who disapproved of Obama in July of 2009 said it was due to his stance on issues and his handling of the economic crisis, including spending too much, relying too much on government solutions for economic problems, and turning the nation towards socialism. And look, when it comes time to elections, a lot of the times these polls are wrong. But a lot of the times they're right. Let me explain. During the election, everybody focuses on the, okay, well, who's out front number? Well, polls are coming in and it's 60% for Trump and 40% for Hillary. Okay, that's favorable to Trump, but dig deeper. Look at the issues. Look at the questioning. How do they divide? How do they stack up one-on-one with the issues at hand? Now, again, taking that in context in the detailed categories section. Jessica, I see you in there. She says she doesn't drink Mountain Dew. She's a diet Dr. Pepper for her. I've tried the diet Dr. Pepper thing, and what was it? The 10, what is that? The one that's supposedly targeted towards men. The 10-calorie one? Yeah. Give me the fully leaded stuff. No, I don't want diet soda. No. Should be taken off the shelves. It's like going to McDonald's and getting a salad what other kind of crap do they have at McDonald's? I don't know. I haven't been there in like 15, 20 years. 15 years. So they got them stupid little microwaved hamburger things that they try and pass off as real food. Anyway. And then they order a Diet Coke. You're defeating the purpose. Drink the fully loaded soda.
I just don't like.
Besides, do your own research on all of the other sugars and stuff that they use to substitute for. And this is after we've already had a root beer float. We used vanilla ice cream, so that makes us racist. So we got that going for us. Okay, let's look at these numbers. Why do you disapprove of the way Trump is handling his job as president? This is where they tried to dial in. 65%, okay? That was the number that we used earlier. 65% put him in the character/personality related main category. They're talking about how they don't. Al says he doesn't drink soda, iced tea, coffee, gallons of water, and the occasional adult beverage. Well, I hardly drink soda. I don't drink tea, don't drink coffee, drink plenty of water, and I consume no adult beverages. My vice is energy drinks. I really like the Rockstar 0-calorie ones. But by far my favorite energy drink is by Spike. They're very difficult to find. Fantastic flavor. They got plenty of caffeine to kick you in the rear. Anyway, looking at the numbers, because this is where Trump really gets kicked in the rear, per se. 29%. Now, okay, so roughly 40%. So, over half of those people, of the 65%, over half put him in two separate subcategories, these detailed categories. The number one category is not presidential, bad temperament, arrogant, and obnoxious. I will completely agree. I don't think he's very presidential, but I think that plays into his favor. And Al, look, I don't like to defend the guy. I would rather hold his feet to the fire on what he says and what he does. But some people make it difficult. He's got a bad temperament. I will agree. Arrogant. Oh, yes, he's pompous. And he's obnoxious. And the second one, inexperienced, doesn't know what he's doing. I tend to disagree with that. He's inexperienced because he's never held an elected office position. Never been elected to anything. And Al, that's one key thing. He didn't have to sell himself. He used all of his own money. And I will admit it's attractive. It really is. Because now you don't have big tobacco. You don't have gun lobbyists wanting to buy you. You don't have you can do or say whatever you want. But that doesn't know what he's doing. I think he's very strategic in what he does. Very, very strategic. And especially the way he uses Twitter. I think he's highly, highly intelligent on using Twitter. Do I think it's the right thing to do? No, not all the time. But Twitter, using social media, is the town square of today, of the 21st century. It's a new age town hall where everybody would congregate. Back in the day, they would congregate and talk about issues. They'd ask questions of their representatives, and their representatives would answer them, and then they would take the knowledge that they got from those town hall meetings, and they would go to work. But that's not how things are working today, and I think we need to go back to that. We need more of a representative than we do someone that's just elected and is working for re-election. But let me echo what Refill is saying. Using Twitter is considered a negative of his. It does get his message out, but I don't fully agree with how he does it. Twitter is as much as a positive for him as it is a negative. Now looking at these numbers, they hardly give him a negative mark on disagreeing with his policies, disapprove of his handling on foreign affairs, healthcare policies. That one's going to come into play. I don't know if you've seen the headlines right now about every other Twitter message tweet that's coming across on what I'm seeing is how this Trump care crap is crashed and burned, and we're stuck with O-Care now. They don't think he's racist or sexist. They don't think he's wishy-washy. I think he is. But these numbers are telling. And if you go back and you look at Obama's numbers, these were the complete opposite. Almost everybody disagreed with him on his policies. They disagreed with him on how he was handling foreign affairs. They didn't like his healthcare policies. They thought that he favored the rich. I mean, he's the complete opposite when you look at these numbers. Now, he had his hopes high, talking about the wall, talking about how we're going to get rid of Obamacare and we're going to make it better. I mean, we're going to make everything better again, whatever the hell that means. But we've missed some key things. And I hope that I can figure out a way to put it all together and share it with you later on this week. But again, continuing on with these numbers, the question here is, why do you approve of the way Trump is handling his job as president? Now, these are the detailed categories. Broad performance evaluations, you got a 38%. You break that down, and the top three are doing a good job, the best he can under difficult circumstances. Again, it's the way he sells things on Twitter. It is his art of the deal. See what I did there? He's keeping his promises, 11%. Does what is best for America. And he plays on your emotions. When he came out, what was that, on Sunday, where he talked about how now we're gonna have 3 new holiday weeks in America. We've got the Made in America week. We've got the Make America Great Again week. We've got the Buy All American whatever. Okay, that's cute. But that's what we should already be doing. We should already be doing that. That is so frustrating. I thought it was interesting, this Gallup poll. Again, you might not have thought so, but I like looking at numbers. Okay, let's talk about something else. How about how it's wrong for us to pray for the president? That's right, it is quote-unquote theological malpractice bordering on heresy for us to be praying for the president. More importantly, something like this. Okay, in the picture on your screen, you will see President Trump's back to you. There are some hands from religious leaders. They're gathered in the Oval Office. I think you can even see Pence in the background. What are they doing? They're praying. Great. I'm all for that. I pray for the leaders of our country. I pray that, the Holy Spirit is going to, that the Spirit is going to help guide them in making good policy decisions. I pray for things like that, day in and day out. But what is wrong with this? The picture that you see? How is this an issue? Well, here we go. The North Carolina NAACP President Reverend William Barber II called the prayer, quote-unquote, theological malpractice bordering on heresy. Here's his quote. It is a form of theological malpractice that borders on heresy when you can pray, P-R-A-Y, he makes sure to spell it out, for a president and others when they are P-R-E-Y, preying on the most vulnerable. You're violating the most sacred principles of religion. Excuse me? Violating the sacred principles of... I don't think this reverend fully understands Scripture very well. I think the whole idea is to be praying for anybody in any type of situation. You know, that whole love thy neighbor type thing. Well, the North Carolina Republican Party was pretty upset. And they issued a statement saying, in the strongest possible terms, the North Carolina GOP condemns the hateful actions of Dr. Reverend Barber, who cast tens of millions of people of all faiths who pray for the president as sinners in a nationally broadcasted interview. Now, that was the North Carolina GOP chairman, Robin Hayes, and continues on saying, as a pastor in North Carolina, Reverend Dr. Barber has crossed the line this time. Using his role as a supposed faith-based leader to falsely drive citizens away from praying for the good of our nation and our nation's president is absolutely grotesque. The idea that it is a sin to pray for any individual, much less the commander-in-chief of our country, goes against any religious teaching that I have ever heard of. Dr. Barber is spreading a repulsive lie, and he should apologize immediately. I would also like to hear him apologize. Why? Well, if it's so wrong for religious leaders to place their hands on and around President Trump, then certainly this is just as wrong. Oh, but no, it's not. Nope. This is good. This one is bad. If you're looking at your screen right now, you're seeing... Well, that sounded really Alex Jones-ish right there. Sorry. What you see on your screen, again, is the first image, where the hands of religious leaders are on and around him, and they're praying for him. How about this picture? The picture of President Obama with religious leaders placing their hands on him and around him, praying for him. Now, if you remember back then, everybody was all up in arms. Everybody is anointing him. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, where the hell was Dr. Barber then wanting to condemn acts like this? Oh, that's wrong. It doesn't fit his agenda. He's a race baiter. Just like Reverend Al Sharptongue. And the Reverend Jesse Jackson would condemn this as well. We've got one that's bad and one that is acceptable. Now, Kentucky Ron just pointed out the main difference. Two main differences, actually. Trump is the wrong color, and he's part of the wrong party. Now, Refill, I don't have my scriptures out in front of me, but I'm going to have to ask you to elaborate in the chat a little bit more about what you're referring to in 1 Timothy. I don't have scriptures handy to pull it up and take a look. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Every religious leader that placed their hands on Obama should come out in support of the religious leaders who placed their hands on and around President Trump in order to bless him and to pray for him and pray for guidance on effective policy making, effectively leading this country. Somebody is extremely confused here, and I don't think it's myself. I think it's Reverend What's-His-Nuts. Which one are we supposed to be looking at? 1 Timothy 2, for kings, I exhort, therefore, that first of all, supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. This is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior. Okay, yes, completely agree with that. That completely puts this entire thing into context. Any religious leader should come out and condemn what Reverend Barber says. Because obviously he's missing a few pages out of his Bible. Sticking on the topic of race, because, you know, this over here, this one right here, bad. This one right here, good. This one right here, bad. Wait, what? You changed the pictures on us. That's right. Yes. Because we're going to transition now. We're keeping it. Let's just keep this theme talking about race. Let's get off this whole soapbox of talking about Trump for a little bit. I stumbled across something that came across Twitter from, who was that? It was Campus Reform. Campus Reform kind of targets, obviously, conservatives at college universities on campus. The title of the article that caught my eye: Professor, white marble in artwork contributes to white supremacy. What? Okay, so I clicked on it. They caught me. Clickbait. Says right here, a University of Iowa professor, her name is Sarah Bond, recently argued that appreciation of, quote, white marble used in classical artwork contributes to white supremacist ideas today. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Oh, wow. Yes. It continued on to say, Professor Sarah Bond demonstrates in an article, bam, I'm done reading Campus Reform. Let's jump over and see what she really says. Yes, refill, white marble. It's wrong for us to look at statues made from white marble. We are exercising white supremacy. We're perpetuating this whole hate towards colored people, whatever you want to call them, whites, blacks, Africans, Americans, Chinese, whatever. We're all the same on the inside. But now, what's really confusing is liberals, the lefties, love and praise art, but it's art, and they're attacking it because it's white marble, and it perpetuates the idea of white supremacists. Okay. Here's her stupid op-ed. Fortunately, yes, I read the damn thing. It's titled, Why We Need to Start Seeing the Classical World in Color. The equation of white marble with beauty is not an inherent truth of the universe. It's a dangerous construct that continues to influence white supremacist ideas today. Yes, Ron. Hashtag Black Marble Matters. We go on to take a look at what she says in this stupid op-ed, in this ridiculous racist rant, trying to fight our way through the artsy-fartsy mumbo-jumbo, where she's trying to completely walk around explaining, well, we can't look at white marble because, where she says, where this standard came from and how it continues to influence white supremacist ideas today are often ignored. Most museums and art history textbooks contain a predominantly neon white display of skin tone when it comes to classical statues and sarcophagi. Look, I have, we've been to a handful of art exhibits. We've seen a handful of marble statues and pictures of things that are carved out of marble. We've seen plenty of paintings and frescoes and all kinds of stuff. I mean, we're kind of weird like that. We enjoy going to a museum. It's a great history lesson. And as a matter of fact, we've got, what, how many trips do we got, how many things do we got lined up for this summer? 2 at least? At least 2. We're going to go look at a mummy exhibit, and then we're going to go through a local museum. Oh, yeah, the Depression era photographer. That's going to be great. Okay. So, I tried to go through this with an open mind, but every paragraph has some sort of hate towards whites in it. But she says right here, one of the most influential art historians of the era was Johann Joachim Winckelmann. He produced 2 volumes recounting the history of ancient art from 1764, which were widely read and came to form a foundation for the modern field of art history. These books celebrate the whiteness of classical statuary and cast the Apollo of the Belvedere, which this happens to be a picture of that carving. What you see on your screen is the Apollo of the Belvedere. A Roman marble copy of a Hellenistic bronze original as the quintessence of beauty. Now, historian Nell Irvin Painter writes in her book, The History of White People, that Winckelmann was a Eurocentrist who deprecated people of other nationalities like the Chinese or the Kalmaic. Goes over to say, the ties between barbarism and color, civility and whiteness would endure, not to mention Winckelmann's pronounced preference for sculptures of gleaming white men over women, regardless of his own sexual identity. Now we have to question the guy's sexual preference, because it's not enough we couldn't make our own argument that white marble is racist. Now we have to throw in the whole gender thing and sexual identity. Regardless of his own sexual identity, which may have been expressed in his preference, in this preference, Winckelmann's gender bias would go on to have an impact on white male supremacists who saw themselves as upholding an ideal. She goes on to say, as classicist Christopher B. Krebs wrote in A Most Dangerous Book, his work on the Third Reich's manipulation of the classical author Tacitus, quote, throughout the 19th century, scientists would scour far and wide, mismeasuring human anatomy. The more data that was compiled, the less significant the result became. Where science failed, prejudice stepped in, and observation yielded to opinion. Unquote. This prejudice was seen particularly in the diagramming of beauty within anatomical textbooks of the 19th and early 20th centuries. The son of a famous botanist, Matthias Marie Duval, developed numerous anatomical models that were broadly used in medical schools and perpetuated ideas of whiteness that never existed in the ancient world. They were derived from examples of classical sculpture, particularly, you guessed it, the Apollo Belvedere. Apparently, Professor Bond, at some point early on in her life, had to write a paper. Using her notes about the Apollo Belvedere. She got an F. Her mom told her never to trust a monkey. Sorry, that if you know what I'm talking about, you'll get it. Anyway, she had to write she probably at one point in her life had to write a paper about the Apollo Belvedere, and she got a bad grade, and now she holds so much contempt to this statue. Now, Refill over in the chat is bringing up a handful of other things that are racist. Teeth. Our teeth are white. They're racist. The whites of our eyes, they're racist. You can get those tattooed and dyed. White vehicles. I've never owned a white vehicle. As a matter of fact, we have in our driveway a black one, 2 gray ones, a red, 3 gray ones, and a red one. We've never had a white I take that back. We have had one white vehicle. It was a 1963 a 1963 Mercury Comet. That one was white. Never got to drive it. My first job was to my mother did not want me to drive a 3 on the tree. She wanted me to switch it over to an automatic. They provided all of the parts. I was supposed to do all of the work. Then we ran into a snag trying to get steering columns to fit. At the time, I was only 15. It was way above my level. We had the Plymouth Scamp. We had a 71 Plymouth Scamp. It was green. It was like a poop green color. Yeah, that had to have hurt. Okay, so let's continue. We got to make sure we want to be able to know. By the way, Google is racist because I've got their homepage up and it's all white. But it's okay because they're promoting feminist ideas because you can click the play button for the O in Google and you can go watch the Women's Cricket World Cup. Let's see, white vehicle, white paint, eggshells, eggs are racist, those damn chickens with large talons, envelopes, why can't we just have colored envelopes? Well, that's because you gotta buy them when you're at Walmart. Over in the greeting card section. Can you pay your bills with greeting card envelopes? Is that racist? I don't know either. Okay, soap suds. Not all soap suds are white. Not all soap suds are white. If you have activated charcoal bars of soap, the bubbles are gray. Kudos to me. That's right, not every chicken poops out white eggs. Some of them are brown and tan. That's true. Okay, toilet paper. Toilet paper's white, maybe brown. Streaks of brown. Okay, they got more skid marks than the highway does. Let's see. White Mountain Dew is very racist. Yes, we know this. Bleach is racist because it makes everything whiter. That's true. But what color is it when you pour it out?
I don't know what it is.
the background of this YouTube chat is white. Yes, it's very racist. It's so true. Okay, so as you can see, we can point out so many other things that are white, and say that they're racist. Does it make it true? No. Why must everything... When are we going to grow up? When are people going to just finally grow up in relation to things? What do we have to do? I don't know. Throwing my hands up. And yes, Ron, especially if you eat a box of if you eat a box of Captain Crunch Allberries, your toilet paper will not come back white. It will be multicolored. Browns and greens and blues. Oh my. Okay. We've only got how much more time? My timekeeper in chief?
6.
We have 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes. Yeah, because in refilled, that's a great point. Toilet paper learns diversity through its life cycle. We could learn a lot from toilet paper. Very true. Very, very true.
I don't know if I want.
It's a good thing toilet paper is not brown. It's like trying to wipe your ass in the middle of the dark without a flashlight. You never know if you're quite done, if you know what I mean. Shall we continue? Shall we move on to the final topic of the night?
Yes.
The final topic of the night is an update on the VA. Okay, so what's the update? The director and chief of staff of the VA hospital in Manchester, New Hampshire, which, where was it? Yes, it is the only VA hospital in New Hampshire. Okay, so the director and the chief of staff at this hospital have been removed from their posts following a news report of dirty conditions, long patient wait times, and substandard care. So, the Department of Veterans Affairs Secretary David Shulkin. I can't say that 5 times fast if it had to save my life. Refill's on a roll. We got to give that man some more Mountain Dew. He says, so in summary, Sarah Bond is trying to cash in on this white guilt trend. Yes, she's cashing in her bonds. That was a good one. I like that. Okay, so now that Shulkin has the authority, a group of 11 whistleblowers, including some physicians and other medical personnel, contacted the federal government and the Boston Globe with complaints of dangerous conditions, according to the Boston Globe newspaper on Sunday. In addition to removing the top 2 officials at the hospital, Shulkin called for a, quote, top-to-bottom review of the hospital starting Monday, which is today. In a written statement, he says, quote, these are serious allegations, and we want our veterans and our staff to have confidence in the care we're providing. I have been clear about the importance of transparency, accountability, and rapidly fixing any and all problems brought to our attention, and we will do so immediately with these allegations. Now, according to VA documents from December, the Manchester VA Medical Center, the only VA hospital in New Hampshire, was given 4 stars on a 5-star rating system that compared VA hospitals nationwide. However, flies infested one of the 4 operating rooms at the hospital. That's disgusting, which had to be shut down. Good. According to the Globe report, the Veterans Choice Program, which allows patients to seek care in the private sector, quote, has broken down. There, the report said, and thousands of veterans have been unable to schedule appointments. We really... This is just one small piece at how bad we're failing. We have how many different areas of responsibility, and we fail on so many different levels. We can't even care for our veterans, the very ones that have laid their life on the line. Men, women, old, young, it doesn't matter. They can't even go for a standard checkup. No wellness visits because it takes forever. In New Hampshire, they have one VA. One. Why is it so damn difficult to fix this? Oh, that's because bureaucracy always gets in the way. We have got to rein in what is happening in Washington. We have to. It is getting ridiculous. If we continue, we are in the middle of watching our own train wreck. And all we're doing is hitting the gas and going farther down the tracks instead of ripping on that emergency brake and trying to stop. And Ron, I completely agree. Unions are a big part to blame. We do not need unions anymore. It's organized crime. It really is. It's organized crime. When you really boil it down, that's all it is. Unions get in the way of so much. Right here in Kansas, the teacher union is battling the state government. I think they have allocated, 8 and 4 is 12. So, for instance, I'm using round figures. Governor Sam Brownback of Kansas cut some funding for education. What he really did was, instead of saying, okay, we're going to spend $1 billion, we're only going to spend $900 trillion. Last year we allocated 700 billion. We're projecting $1 trillion. I'm going to cut 100 million off of that, or billion off of that. Now we're only going to do 900 billion. That's a cut in the eyes of government officials. These union thugs got in the way and got a panel of 3 judges in Wichita to go to him and say, you're not spending enough on these kids. In Kansas, they spend roughly $12,000 per student. Roughly $12,000. Of that $12,000, you know how much actually gets spent on the pupil? On the student. $4,000. Well, that leaves $8,000 left. You know where that goes? It goes to the teacher pensions. It goes to teacher unions. Yeah, an exaggeration? No, it's not. It's organized crime. Same with the auto unions. I'm not even going to get into that. Whole different show, whole different topic. But the sound that we just heard says that's all we have for this week. God willing, the Stafford Voice will be back next week. You can follow me on Twitter or Gab at Stafford Voice. You can look me up on Facebook or Instagram by searching for the Stafford Voice. You can email any of your questions, comments, or concerns to the Stafford Voice at gmail.com. Again, that's the Stafford Voice at gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time. Until next time, thanks and God bless.